Observe the flow of any major port, and you see a reflection of global desire. We seek more energy, faster technology, and better housing. Yet the physical resources required to satisfy those wants, the raw materials, the labor, and the land, are finite. This tension defines the core of economic study. It is a condition known as scarcity, the constant pressure of having seemingly unlimited human wants in a world of strictly limited resources. Scarcity forces every society to make specific allocation decisions. These choices determine how products are made and who consumes them, with the results manifesting in everything from market stability to the standard of living across a population. Economists treat their field as a diagnostic toolkit. They apply specific analytical methods to these societal choices to identify precisely where the machinery of supply and demand begins to break down. Addressing the mechanics of long-term prosperity requires us to first learn how to evaluate the data through a few essential lenses. Diagnosing an economic issue starts with measuring its scope. To do this, we divide the economy into two distinct scales of observation. This chart highlights microeconomics, a close-up lens focusing on individual economic units, like a household spending, a firm's costs, or a product's price. Pulling back, we enter macroeconomics. This scale tracks the aggregate economy, monitoring national metrics like total GDP, systemic inflation, and unemployment. Beyond scale, a full diagnosis requires us to differentiate between objective observations and ideological objectives. Positive economics acts as the objective lens. As shown here, it relies on tested facts to state what is. Conversely, normative economics deals with value judgments. These state what ought to be, arguing, for example, that income inequality should be reduced based on social priorities. Understanding an economic event depends on establishing its scale, micro or macro, while separating the raw positive data from our normative goals for what the outcome should look like. Over time, economists have combined these diagnostic lenses into competing playbooks, or schools of economic thought, to treat the problems created by scarcity. The classical playbook, established in the 1700s by Adam Smith, prioritizes microeconomics. Smith argued that rational self-interest and an invisible hand within free markets would coordinate supply and demand without the need for government intervention. Alfred Marshall later refined this into the neoclassical school by applying mathematical models to human behavior, focusing on how individuals maximize their own utility through marginal gains. These micro-focused models reached their limit during the 1930s. When the Great Depression hit, the existing free market theories could not account for the depth of the systemic collapse. John Maynard Keynes introduced a new approach, arguing that free markets do not always self-correct to provide full employment. This Keynesian playbook marked the birth of modern macroeconomics. It suggested that during a crisis, government intervention is necessary to stimulate aggregate demand and move the economy toward recovery. Milton Friedman and the monetarist school emerged as a response to Keynesian policies. The monetarist playbook maintains a macro focus, specifically the control of the money supply, but is driven by the normative belief that market forces must operate with minimal government restriction to ensure efficiency. In contrast, the welfare school, associated with Vilfredo Pareto, is a purely normative playbook. It focuses on arranging economic activity specifically to maximize human well-being and social utility. These 5 distinct schools function as the active, competing operating systems used by global leaders to manage nations today. We can apply this toolkit to a modern scenario, a politician on the news claiming, "We must lower taxes to stimulate growth." Using our lenses, we identify the phrase, "we must," as a normative goal. Because the statement targets national growth, it is applied to the macroeconomy. This specific logic aligns with the monetarist or classical playbooks, which prioritize market-driven solutions over government revenue. Economics is a framework for navigating scarcity. With these tools, you can identify the invisible machinery that governs global policy and daily life.